want to welcome everyone here to our VWEC Metaverse Expert Series. We are so glad to see you and happy you're joining us for today for this very interesting presentation and discussion we've got. For those of you who are new, we do have our website. That's www.vweconsortium.org, and you can find us on social media and other channels through Linktree at linktr.ee/VWE Consortium. After our presentation, we will move over to the deck for a more informal conversation and social time for those who are able to stay, so look forward to seeing you over there. We're so pleased that our Expert Series presentation is in both text and chat today. We'll be doing Speakeasy. Thank you, Val, for handling the Speakeasy. And the text subtitles are also available in the YouTube live stream for those who are watching it that way. You can find this a sign in front of our stage that can help with that as well. And speaking of signs, we'd like you to know how to find out about our events. Our survey plant here has a quick survey also that can be a great help. And if you please fill it out, we'd really appreciate it. Feel free to send along with your comments. So thanks. And we'd like to also thank you for joining us for this very interesting presentation today. I'm happy to introduce our Metaverse expert speaker for you. And sitting next to me here is Rose Hill, a certified peer counselor with a focus in trauma and crisis counseling. She's in her final year of a master's in clinical mental health counseling graduate program. And she has extensive professional and lived experience with a wide range of therapy modalities with specialized training in relational therapy, somatic therapy, existential therapy, psychotherapy, CBT, DBT, and EMDR, and crisis intervention. She's currently an OUD specialist in Crisis Connections in Seattle, Washington. Rose's topic is impacts of AI on learning and mental health. I'll turn the program over to you, Rose.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Eric, and I'm really excited to be here with you all today. And welcome, everyone, to my talk about some of the impacts of AI on learning and mental health. I have a master's degree in information science, and I'm working on my second master's degree in clinical mental health counseling, as Eric shared. And as a current university student, especially one studying the intersection of mental health and AI, I see us really being at the beginning of a new era, one that has recently been called the intelligence age. This is an age with a really significant shift in how knowledge is being acquired and processed. And that shift is unfolding with new updates every day. So with AI's exponential growth, usable, useful information tools are evolving at a really unprecedented rate. These changes are happening so fast on so many levels. We have to ask, how do we keep up? How do we adapt? How is and will AI affect what we know and how we feel? So this is a huge topic with almost endless side roads. So please keep in mind, this presentation is by no means meant to be all-encompassing. Rather, I'll be focusing on how AI tools are interrupting how we have taught students to learn, really for as long as there have been classrooms, how these changes may be affecting our mental health, and what we can possibly do about it. So let's touch on the historical method or philosophy of learning for just a moment. How have we historically taught? How have we learned what we know? The classic approach to education has been rooted in a straightforward model. The teacher imparts knowledge through lectures, and the students reinforce this learning through homework and practice. This method, often referred to as the sage on the stage approach, has really been the backbone of education for centuries. And the philosophy behind this method is based on three key assumptions. First, knowledge is transferred from expert to novice. Second, individual work or homework reinforces classroom learning. And third, repetition and practice lead to mastery. This model has served education well enough to be the standard for really as long as we can remember. But what happens when the individual work or homework part of this model is disrupted? So let's take a look now at some examples of how that disruption is already happening. Currently, there are easily accessible tools, some built directly into our phones, websites, and computer operating systems that can do a student's traditional homework in seconds. So I want to show a couple specific examples, and I want to start with the one of Apple's Math Notes. On newer iPads, there's an AI feature built into the calculator app called Math Notes, which lets you write math problems directly with your Apple Pencil, like you would on paper, and it instantly solves them for you, even recognizing complex equations and handwriting quirks. This means you can jot down a complicated calculation and the calculator will automatically translate it into a solution with all the work it took to get to that solution. MathNotes has several key features. Handwriting recognition is the first one. It understands your handwriting, even if it's messy. Real-time calculation, it's calculating the answer as you write. And visual feedback, you can see your handwritten equation alongside the solution. And MathNotes tends to be billed as a tool for students, or like having a personal math tutor in your calculator. But it begs the question, if a student has access to this tool, which many do, and uses it for their math homework, how much are they actually learning? And I want to be clear that I think they are still learning something. All of these tools that I'm going to mention today require a user to be engaged with them in some way. And this is a really key point. Even if you have an AI assistant, you are retaining at least some part of the knowledge that's trying to be taught. But clearly, the quality of that retained knowledge may be significantly different if you do your geometry homework on MathNotes, for instance, rather than a piece of actual paper. So let's take a look at a different example. AI tools are not just limited to the hard sciences. Let's look at an example involving literature. And let's say you have to read the book Jane Eyre and write a book report. You can use any informational AI tool like ChatGPT, Gemini, Llama, Claude, etc. to briefly summarize the book for you. And this isn't just like Cliff Notes either. You can ask the AI questions about the summary. Why is there a woman in the attic? What is Gothic literature? Is this supposed to be a happy ending? Any question you have, you can ask and get a response based on the AI's knowledge. Here's where this tool can be like an English tutor. You can have an individualized conversation with the AI agent you're using about Jane Eyre, which can deepen your understanding. But not only can AI provide concise and interactive summaries, it can also generate that book report you were assigned as homework. You can ask the AI tool to write your book report in a specific style. So in this example, I've asked for a one-page book report written at the vocabulary level of a high school student, and 2 seconds later, there it is. This capability fundamentally changes how we approach literature studies. If AI can generate a competent book report in seconds, how do you ensure students are engaging, not just deeply with the text, but engaging at all, rather than just engaging with the AI's ideas about the text? And if students aren't engaging with literature, what are they missing out on? And what biases about Jane Eyre might AI have that it's imparting to the learner? And those two examples are just, in fact, all these examples I'm about to give you are just at the very tip of the iceberg. AI tools are available for virtually every subject at this point, and new ones are popping up every day. So I wanted to give you a few specific examples just to kind of get a sense of how broadly AI is being integrated into the ways we learn. So in the field of language learning and translation, we have tools like Duolingo's AI-powered language lessons, which allow you to interact by text and talking with an AI assistant whose goal is to teach you the language of your choice. Also in that category, Google Translate's real-time camera translation. So with this tool, you can take a photo of text in a different language and translate it to the language of your choice. Similarly, you can upload a photo of a language you don't speak into ChatGPT and get a translation of it. Also, ChatGPT has real-time voice translation, which allows you to talk with someone who speaks a different language while ChatGPT translates back and forth between you in real time. Shifting to a different topic, there are AI tools that provide historical analysis and timelines. So something called Owlift is an AI app that can generate interactive timelines. These timelines are designed to teach you about historical events that you can interact with. And there are also intelligent document analysis tools like Transcribus that can decipher historical texts. In this field, I think, again, we can wonder about what biases are built into the AI. You know, they say history is written by the victor, and how skewed are AI's ideas about our history and the meaning of our historical texts? Shifting to a different topic, the field of science is really blossoming with AI in every genre of science. NVIDIA, who's a huge AI player, can create AI-powered molecular dynamics simulations. IBM has the AI agent Watson that can create genomic analysis for personalized medicine. AI has been used to scan MRIs and mammograms to detect cancer at much more precise rates than humans. And while these studies are still being done in real time, so we don't really have statistics yet, what we do know is that the AI tools who are trained at this detection are consistently able to detect cancer at much earlier stages than their human counterparts. Another shift in topics, perhaps the most well-known AI advances are in art and music creation. So tools like Midjourney and DALL-E, probably the most widely known generative AI tools, can both generate an image from a text description. The images for this presentation were generated this way using Midjourney. We have also advanced to generating videos from text descriptions. Runway is one of the most used for video generating at this point. Many AI companies like OpenAI have also created video generators like Sora in OpenAI's case, but have not yet publicly released them, primarily due to ethical concerns. And switching to music, there are tools like Suno AI and Udio AI that are really mind-blowing for composing music from a text prompt. Suno, for instance, allows you to generate a song from a 200-character text prompt, and you can either add your own lyrics or it can generate the lyrics for you, and the result is either a full song with or without vocals. And while there are many more categories of AI tools, the last one that I'll touch on here as an example is writing and editing assistants. So Grammarly is a well-known writing assistant. It's been around for quite a few years, but in 2023 it integrated AI. And it is also working to integrate the concept of text provenance as we speak. Text provenance falls into the category of AI detection, which will likely be embedded in school at all levels in the future. In Grammarly's case, the idea is to track how a document is created and written from start to finish to see if AI was used at all in its creation. And I'll actually get a bit deeper into this a little bit later in this presentation. Another AI writing tool is Hemingway Editor. So this will take already written text and edit it for style and improved readability. Granted, style and readability are both totally subjective. So one question that arises a lot for me is, as AI begins writing for us, how soon will all of our voices, our literary voices, become identical? So these tools that we just covered are just a really small snapshot of what's available. And this list is growing every day. But as you can see from these examples, AI is touching pretty much every aspect of education, from the sciences to the humanities. So I kind of want to shift gears entirely here and talk about shifting out of what's possible with AI to how those possibilities may be affecting us on a feeling level. What does all of this AI innovation mean for educators and students' mental health? The intersection of AI and mental health is something I'm fascinated by and am working to study in my degree program. And at the core of that fascination is this concept that how we think affects how we feel. Many of the evidence-based therapies, like cognitive behavioral therapy, are founded on that core concept that our thoughts affect our feelings. So if AI is affecting our thoughts, affecting how we learn to think, our critical thinking skills, how does this impact our mental health? I believe the proliferation of AI tools in education has major implications for both educators and students' mental well-being. These AI tools already woven into our technology, whether we seek them out or not, are already impacting how we think. And this is only going to increase as more AI tools become embedded in our everyday lives. I want to frame this section before we totally dive in, first by saying that all of these impacts on educators and students' mental health may sound kind of bleak, but I firmly believe that awareness is our greatest ally in mental well-being. So if we're aware of what is or might be contributing to how we feel, we have the power to feel better. So while I'm focusing on all these negative sounding mental health impacts, please keep in mind I'm presenting them in that spirit of raising awareness. So let's look at how educators may be affected by AI encroaching on their territory. For starters, feeling uneasiness, frustration, and uncertainty may be par for the course, as these tools are popping up without any guardrails or any dependable way to detect their use. How do you assess genuine learning when AI can produce polished work of any tone and tenor in any subject in seconds? This frustration and uncertainty can contribute to increased cognitive load or just overthinking about this a lot, chronic stress, and even burnout, as the pressure to constantly adapt to quickly changing new technologies and to integrate them into curriculum is ever changing and overwhelming. Educators employing that traditional sage on the stage style of teaching may experience something like imposter syndrome or a loss of professional identity. As this concept of AI as tutor really takes hold and becomes more and more sophisticated, many educators may experience a sense of inadequacy or even obsolescence. Think about this. An informational AI agent can answer any question a human has ever had an answer for. And this cannot be said for a teacher. If I ask my ethics teacher about calculus, they probably aren't going to be able to help me out. And that's not so with ChatGPT or Claude. I can talk to the same AI agent about any subject. This mastery of information that AI is beginning to hold can lead to decreased self-esteem and questioning of one's role and value in the classroom as an educator. Educators may also experience stressful ethical dilemmas and moral distress as they face difficult decisions about when and how to use AI, how to detect the use of AI, how to sanction the use of AI. All of these are questions arising at once with little support, questions about fairness, equity of access, and maintaining academic integrity. In an AI-saturated environment, what does academic integrity even mean anymore? This can cause anxiety for educators. I want to share a personal anecdote here. So my university is taking the stance that some amount of AI use is acceptable, but any text that AI generates must be cited just like any other source and listed in the references. So professors are being pushed to make sure students' work is authentic, and they're given few tools to do so. In a class I took last quarter, I wrote a paper on applying statistics to counseling. About a week later, I got a message from my professor that she was concerned that my paper was AI generated because she put it through an AI detection tool, and the result from the tool was that it was significantly AI generated. Now, I did not use AI at all to write my paper, but AI detection tools often focus on quality of writing and vocabulary. Essentially, the more advanced level you write at, or the more perfect your writing is, the higher, and by perfect, I mean grammatically perfect, the higher the likelihood is that AI will flag it as AI generated. What my professor and the AI detector didn't know is that my undergraduate degree was a dual degree in both creative writing and technical writing. So I applied all of my technical writing skills to write that statistics paper, and my professor doubted my academic integrity for it. And I shared my background with my professor, and she was very kind about it and asked for my understanding that she's under a lot of pressure to make sure student work is authentic. So it's these kinds of sticky, gray moral dilemmas that educators are facing every day with every assignment from every student. And how about those students? So let's check in on them. How are AI tools potentially impacting students' mental health? So the ease of access to information that AI, like those common ones, ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, and so on, allows for, can lead to a false sense of knowledge. And as students confuse the ability to find information with true understanding, we will likely see numerous mental health impacts. First, an important one is reduced distress tolerance. So it's kind of a strange truth about being alive that life involves tolerating a lot of distress. And distress is a loaded word. We think of it as a bad word, but actually it's a very necessary part of life. In fact, think about the distress your mother tolerated bringing you into this world. Distress tolerance is an essential skill that we all must learn to survive. Another example of it is, think about the trip of a lifetime. Let's say you've always wanted to go to Paris. What does it take to get to Paris? It takes working to save money. It takes planning. It takes making arrangements for any pets or people who depend on you. It takes packing. It takes decision making. It takes traveling. For me, that's an 8-hour flight. And all of these tasks involve some level of distress. It could be mild or it could be major. But you know that the work of getting to Paris will be worth it. So you do all those difficult tasks to get there. And how did you learn to tolerate that distress? Well, homework is distressing. It's pretty notorious that we don't like it. Aside from the content we learn when we do our homework, we also learn how to tolerate a certain level of distress to get that grade, to succeed, to make it through, to graduate. Of course, that's not the only way we learn to tolerate distress by any means, but it is a significant and almost universal way we learn to tolerate our natural distress. So what happens if AI does our homework for us? What if we don't encounter distress? We just say, write me that book report. To learn distress tolerance in counseling requires what I might call bothersome repetition. So the only way to learn to tolerate distress is to feel distress. And the goal in counseling is to have enough coping skills, enough hope and support that whatever distress we encounter, we're able to persevere, knowing that we are okay, even though the thing we're doing kind of sucks. But if we don't learn to do hard or bothersome tasks like homework, how does this impact our ability to be resilient when we encounter the inevitable adversity that we will? How does it impact our ability to persevere or achieve lifelong goals? Another impact on mental health, on students' mental health, is that students may begin regularly cognitive offloading, essentially saying, I don't want to think about that, with an over-reliance on AI tools to think for them. This could seriously hinder the development of critical thinking and problem-solving skills. Students might struggle with independent thought and analysis when AI isn't available. Another consideration on mental health is that students may also form attachments to the AI agents they rely on for their information, potentially affecting their ability to form human connections. And of course, this isn't limited to students, but I'm thinking of students because especially if you start relying on AI young, this consideration is only going to be more important to think about. And I categorize this sort of relational attachment as a technosocial relationship. And actually, at the end of this presentation, there will be a link to a different presentation that I did, which goes into more depth on technosocial, also called parasocial, relationships with AI. These technosocial relationships could lead to challenges in developing empathy, in reading social cues, and navigating complex human relationships. And what about identity formation and how we develop our self-concept? As AI becomes more integrated into learning, students may struggle with questions of personal achievement and self-worth. Students may start defining their capabilities in relation to AI rather than developing a strong individualized sense of self. So much of who we are is defined in relation to what we're capable of, which we often learn through the hard work we do. Whether that's making it through a Faulkner novel, solving our first calculus equation, or writing a speech. If we aren't doing that hard work, how do we learn what we can do, what we're capable of? How do we learn who we are? Students may also experience stress related to their digital footprint, its potential future implications, and the privacy of their online information. The more interwoven technology becomes in our education system, the less choice students have about creating a digital footprint. It's not about whether you want one or not. It's how big is it? How messy is it? Can it be erased? The final point I want to touch on in this section is that there are real equity and mental health disparity concerns with AI. Unequal access to AI tools could exacerbate existing educational and mental health disparities. Students without access may experience increased stress, anxiety, and feelings of inadequacy as their AI-supported counterparts excel. Okay, wow. So I know that was a lot. And let's have a reminder here that we cannot prevent these impacts unless we know about them, we think about them. Awareness is power. It's also really crucial to note that these potential impacts are by no means inevitable. With thoughtful implementation and support, AI can and likely will also have major positive effects on mental health, such as providing personalized learning experiences, reducing academic stress through better resource management, and offering new tools for mental health support and intervention. As we navigate this new landscape, it's essential to prioritize the mental well-being of both educators and students. This may involve, probably should involve, developing new support systems, reimagining professional development, reimagining the student experience, and questioning, how do we really learn in an AI integrated world? So what now? What about redefining what it means to learn? One of the many challenges we face is not knowing what's coming next with AI. That challenge is compounded by the exponential growth of AI tools. What is possible today in this moment as we're speaking will be minimal compared to what is possible in 6 months. And that can be both exciting and terrifying. Specifically in regards to learning, though, the AI tools that can simulate human learning are only going to improve. So how might we reimagine learning in the AI age? Now, I do not have answers, but I believe that we don't find answers until we ask questions and imagine into possibilities. So let's do that. How do we teach when we can't guarantee homework is done by the student rather than AI? And how do we motivate students to learn rather than get a good grade? I tend to believe that encouragement is far more effective in fostering learning than punishment. Some universities and schools are taking the track of calling out AI use as cheating, and while I totally see the logic there, I don't think that really addresses the problem. Let me give you an example. So let's go back to Grammarly, that writing editor I mentioned before. Grammarly has been regularly encouraged at universities for years as a type of spell check or grammar checker. But at the end of 2023, Grammarly suddenly incorporated AI into its existing functionality, now able to write full sentences and paragraphs for you, predicting what you might want to say next, suggesting better ways to make your points. The AI is embedded with the traditional spell check. Schools, though, continued encouraging the use of Grammarly without realizing it was now an AI tool. I share this example because AI is becoming ubiquitous, and we likely don't even know all the ways it's already touching our lives. The most recent Apple operating system update incorporates AI, which automatically integrates it into a vast number of smartphones. Instagram and Facebook's traditional search bars are now AI chats. The Google search bar now initiates an AI chat with Gemini. Students cannot avoid AI, neither can educators. So I believe that focusing on teaching digital ethics and fostering a desire to learn will be more important than detecting AI use and punishing it. But I also want to add that alongside these developing AI applications is that emerging field of AI detection. AI detection tools are not far behind the AI tools that simulate homework. Tools like ChatGPT-0 and Grammarly are starting to offer what I mentioned earlier, text provenance tools that essentially track the user's writing process to see if pieces of a paper, for instance, have been copied and pasted. This is just one example of AI detection, but implementing these detection tools in a learning environment comes with ethical concerns around privacy invasion. In the case of text provenance tools, for instance, we're beginning to encroach upon or invade the writing process itself. And our writing process has always been a private process. Historically, will it continue to be a private process? Is that our right? Imagine having to turn in a video alongside every paper you write that shows every thought you had as you outlined, drafted, edited, and completed that paper. And imagine if authors of books had to do the same in order to prove the humanity of their work. I strongly encourage us to begin questioning the integrity of our current systems, the strengths and weaknesses of our current systems, and to think outside of the box as we consider how to keep learning alive. Remember, AI is the box, and we are still outside it, so let's leverage that. Here are just some of the ideas that are being floated about shifts in learning models. First, a move away from that traditional sage on the stage model. This could shift us from a homework model to a group work model, which relies heavily on learning experiences where student accountability is a key factor. This could be collaborative group work, year-long projects, experiential educational opportunities, and the like. And of course, we already do these things as supplementals to individual work, but we may need to lean into them more, a lot more. Another important idea is teaching students why learning is important. In the end, it matters less what grade you get and more what you learned getting the grade, because the act of learning itself teaches us critical thinking, resilience, and lays the building blocks of our identity. In the AI era, do we even need grades? If every student can use AI to get an A in seconds, do we need to rethink how we measure achievement in schools? So often, we don't understand why we were forced to learn something until years or decades after. I would say equally often, we might still be wondering why we were forced to learn certain things in school. This teaching the why process might necessitate evaluating the skills and knowledge, what skills and knowledge are most important and necessary for us to teach. And it might necessitate us eliminating some areas that we have historically taught, but actually hold little value in an AI-fueled world. Teaching the why also includes teaching metacognition, or teaching students how to think about their thinking, how to evaluate, how to zoom out and see that bigger picture. Another idea is fostering and valuing creativity over the hard sciences. AI is a whiz at math, physics, biology, chemistry, and while I think it is necessary for humans to still learn some of these or all of these, leaning more into teaching creative techniques, painting, cooking, fabric arts, things that give students hands-on experiences that a screen cannot replicate. And this is a really key thought for our future. What is AI not able to replicate? And does that question lead us to areas we should lean into more in education? A final idea I'd like to highlight is the essential aspect of teaching students digital citizenship. Some of you have heard talks here by my mom, Dr. Valerie Hill, on the need to teach all the elements of digital citizenship starting at an early age. And digital citizenship concerns the rights and duties of each individual utilizing technology for both the consumption and production of information in digital culture. And this certainly includes ethical and responsible use of AI. I'm sharing a link here that you can check out later if you like to Dr. Hill's recent talk at the VWEC Expert Series on the importance of digital citizenship. So, how do we wrap up when everything is a question mark? I think we're going to be living with a lot of question marks as the AI era continues to unfold. And getting comfortable with that uncertainty, or as Real K famously says, learning to love the questions themselves will serve us well. The integration of AI into education presents a lot of challenges, and I leaned really heavily into that in this presentation and into some negative effects that we could start seeing and feeling. And this is not because I'm against AI. I'm actually really excited by what is happening and what is on the horizon. But change is almost always uncomfortable, and it is inevitable at this point, especially in our education system. So evaluating these negative impacts holds value. While this change may require us to rethink traditional approaches to thinking or to teaching and learning, it also offers the potential to enhance education in ways we're only beginning to explore. In a way, we've always had a kind of natural cap on the knowledge we impart to students because each student can only learn and know so much, and each educator tends to specialize in a specific area. AI really takes the lid off. Students can ask AI anything about anything. And the one thing I know is that questions almost always lead to more questions. We're allowed to be curious. I think we need to be curious, and we need to be willing to change. I want to leave you with a quote from Sam Altman, who's the head of OpenAI, which is ChatGPT. And this is from a blog post that he actually posted on Monday. Technology brought us from the Stone Age to the agricultural age, and then to the industrial age. From here, the path to the intelligence age is paved with compute, energy, and human will. The dawn of the intelligence age is a momentous development with very complex and extremely high-stakes challenges. It will not be an entirely positive story, but the upside is so tremendous that we owe it to ourselves and the future to figure out how to navigate the risks in front of us. Here's a link to that blog post that I just quoted from. And on the next few slides are my references. There's also a reference box in front of me that you can get the references from. You can also access my presentation slides here at this link that Val just dropped in the chat. I mentioned earlier that last May I presented a talk on how AI is impacting the mental health of young people for Gentle Heron's Mental Health Symposium. And if you want to watch that later, here is the link to that. And that is all for today. Thank you so much for allowing me this chance to talk here at the Expert Series. And, at the very end, I come back to thinking about the iceberg slide. All of what I shared today just scratches the surface. So I'm really happy, to engage with any questions or reflections you have either now in the discussion, or you can always reach out to me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rose, for sharing today with us your really thoughtful and thought-provoking discussion. If there are questions, feel free. Actually, I'm directing this to the audience. If you all have questions, please feel free to put those in local chat or voice. We're happy to hear. And in closing, just want to say thanks to all for your attendance today, and a reminder that we'll be able to see the recording Please know that we welcome new volunteers to the VWEC community, which is open to anyone interested in teaching and learning in virtual worlds. If you're interested in working at our info center, contact Sumu Magic or Val Librarian Greg. We'll be having our next expert event on October 11th, and the session is called Lessons from the SL Student Challenge. That's the student challenge that's been going on, a competition. And so look forward to that. To see all of VWEC events, please check out the VWEC Plaza events calendar, and I'll include a link in the space below. And we also have the YouTube channel, youtube.com at VWE Consortium. We're also on social media, and I'll put some of those links below as well. Finally, please join us across the way for our happy hour, where we can have informal discussions as well. We can continue the questions over there, and yes, now's a good time to ask questions.